transformative power of Zen and the art of NLP. A lot more success with a lot less stress on Transformation Talk Radio. Every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, Dr. Steve Simpson combines the principles of Zen philosophy with the techniques of neuro-linguistic programming to help you achieve your goals with ease and tranquility. Whether you're seeking personal growth, professional development, or improved relationships, this show offers practical strategies and insights to navigate life's challenges with a calm and focused mindset. Get ready to embrace a new level of success and serenity. Zen and the art of NLP starts now.
Today, because one of our greatest gifts is probably the one you never think about. It's your gift of influence. However, bear in mind, it can also be your greatest enemy, but don't worry, we'll know how to deal with that. I'm Dr. Steve Simpson, and you are listening to Zen and the Art of NLP on Transformation Talk Radio. Every week, we will choose a topic highlighting a core skill of neuro-linguistic programming, otherwise known as NLP. The three foundations of NLP are modeling excellence, using effective language patterns, and learning how to connect to the massive power of the unconscious mind, often through hypnosis. And this is probably the most important thing. We will also explore Zen philosophies. Zen is a state of calmness, attentiveness, and inner peace. Someone with a Zen attitude approaches a situation calmly and with a focused awareness, because this is the home of peak performance and the source of massive results. Today's headline topic is the power of advanced communication and influence skills. And I've chosen three quotes, and I hope you like them all. Do you know what the author Napoleon Hill thought about influence? He also thought Think and Grow Rich, which made him very rich. Anyway, on this subject, he says, think twice before you speak, because your words and influence will plant the seed of either success or failure in the mind of another. Second quote, do you know what the entertainer Bob Keeshan thought about influence? Parents are the ultimate role models for children. Every word, every movement and action has an effect. No other person or outside force has a greater influence on a child than the parent. That's a bit scary, isn't it, for those of us who have been parents? And lastly, do you know what the politician Gilbert Parker thought about influence? There is no influence like the influence of habit. And one of the reasons I chose this one is because this could have been a Zen statement as well. No influence like the influence of habit. Most of the elite performers that I work with, they definitely have their habits and their processes they follow. And the source of these three inspirational quotes is from brainyquote.com. So stay with us for the next 30 minutes and let us help you experience that sweet spot of mind, body, and soul to embrace a new level of success and serenity, helping you achieve a lot more success with a lot less stress. Please post your questions and comments, and I'll do my best to answer them in the final part of the show. If you're brave, you can also call us now at our live call-in number. The lines are open, 1-800-930-2819. Today, on the menu, the focus is the power of advanced communication and influence skills. Suppose for a moment you feel frustrated because you don't seem to achieve what you deserve from a life when others do. In that case, the chances are that for one reason or another, you've forgotten how to access your hardwired, innate talking skill of unconscious persuasion and influence. Pinpointing exactly when humans learn to speak is tricky because language leaves no fossils behind. Therefore, estimates range widely from tens of thousands to millions of years ago. See, the problem is that when we gain one new skill, we often lose an old one, which could be more critical. Therefore, language is a two-edged sword. It can get us into trouble, or it can make our lives more accessible and successful, which we're going to focus. So anyway, if you've got this frustration, we're going to fix this right now. Because step one to fixing this frustration is understanding when we learned how to talk and how it changed our social and living skills, including, of course, effective communication and influence skills. Back in history, people like you and me have been shuffling around this planet for about 10 million years, and we look very different from how we look now. In evolutionary terms, 10 million years is just a blink of an eye, yet we were fast learners, because during that time, we learned how to walk on two legs, we learned how to use stone tools, how to make fires, how to cook food, and eliminate most of our competition, including our relatives, the cuddly Neanderthals. Before we learned how to talk, we communicated non-verbally very effectively. Of course, it was much easier then because we lived in tiny social groups, probably only one or a few families living together. We survived every threat that nature put in our way. In other words, we were resilient, we were adaptable, we were opportunistic, and most importantly, we were very successful. And language threatened all of these benefits that we had learned the hard way, and it still does. Before we could speak, life was a lot simpler. As those who embrace nostalgia might say, and you've heard this a few times, it was the good old days. We didn't think much, and the danger of overthinking is a familiar topic with the clients that I work with. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Caveman and Cavewoman knew when they were hungry, so they gathered some berries or killed and ate whatever was unlucky enough to cross their path. When they were cold, they built a fire to keep warm. Tasks like this took up most of the day, so with nothing to talk about, there was little to think about. However, when we learned to talk to each other, we found a way of encoding our formless thoughts into something consciously tangible. From our earlier conversations, we also found out that different people sometimes have something that we might want. These changes happened in a very short evolutionary time, and these new language skills spread rapidly across the planet. And as our language skills improved, one consequence was that we lived in larger family units. Anthropologists believe that the ideal size of a tribe is about 150 people. If it's less than that, the tribe will not have the diversity of skills required for survival. If it's more than that, the tribe is more challenging, shall we say, more challenging to manage, because as we know, there is nothing more complicated than people. Other people, of course. Anyways, on to step 2 of the 3 steps of this show. Step 2 is understanding the benefits of effective communication and influence skills and how to use them to your advantage. Effective communication is the bedrock for building trust, and rapport is pivotal for influencing others. Here are some critical skills that will help you in both areas. First, let's talk about the communication skills. Express your ideas clearly, concisely, and efficiently. Avoid jargon and technical terms unless you're sure understands them. Pay close attention to what the other person is saying, verbally and, perhaps more important, non-verbally. Ask clarifying questions to ensure understanding. Bear in mind, who is your message's target audience? When crafting your message, consider their age, their background, and their interests. People love stories. They are a great way to connect to their unconscious minds, and we're going to talk more about this in the final part of the program. But in the meantime, weave narratives into your communication to engage your audience and make your message more memorable. Richard Bandler, the co-creator of NLP, is a master of using colorful and engaging stories and metaphors to emphasize and highlight the core messages of NLP. That's because when you've been Bandlerized, you never forget any of this stuff. Your body language, your words, and how you use them are hugely important in getting your message across to others. Now, on to influence skills. Empathy is always essential. Put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand their perspective. Back up your claims with evidence and data, even though this seems to be a bit out of fashion now. Your passion for ideas is definitely not out of fashion, and it will be contagious. Show genuine enthusiasm for the topic at hand. Be prepared to find common ground and compromise. Negotiation is a two-way street, so be open to hearing the other side's perspective. And connect with the person you're trying to influence. Find common interests and build trust and rapport. Remember, communication and influence are ongoing processes. The more you practice, the more you'll see your skills improve. So commit to continuous practice and watch yourself become a more effective communicator and influencer. To remind you, you are listening to Zen and the Art of NLP with me, Dr. Steve Simpson. We're going to take a swift break shortly, but before we do that, take a moment to think about these three questions, and they are big questions. Question 1. What is the one thing that you desire the most? That you desire the most? I bet you spent loads of time thinking about that, don't we all? What is the one thing that is stopping you from achieving it? Well, it's quite important to think about this because if you can't find out what's stopping you, you may not get the result that you're looking for. And the third one, which I've got a feeling might just be the most important. What is the one thing that you want to share with others? Share with others. This is important because when we forget about me, and think about you, they, then it raises your frequencies because you're coming from a giving place, you're coming from a sharing place, you're coming from a helping place. And generally speaking, the way these things work is that you will be rewarded by the universe one way or the other. When we return, step 3, the final step, is to learn how Zen and NLP can enhance our persuasion and communication skills through storytelling. Trust me, this is a lot easier than it might sound, and it just might even be fun. Please stay tuned. We will be right back, helping you achieve a lot more success with a lot less stress. And we are right back. I hope you enjoyed pondering those 3 big questions during the break. And now I've got a big ask for you. If you wish, I'd like you to email me, doc@drstephensimpson.com, and tell me how you answered those 3 big questions, and which I can help you with if you feel that you need a little help with any of them. And there are several reasons why I'm making this offer or this ask is that I'd like to use this as content for a future show. And in return, you will help others struggling with the same issues. When you help others, as I mentioned before, you raise your frequencies and receive many gifts from the universe. And you can also be anonymous, but tell me this in your note and I'll make sure not to mention your name. The best way to find out more about me and my work, and I hope you do, is to check out my website, drstephensimpson.com. Sign up for my free weekly newsletter and discover plenty of other free stuff to explore, including the Zen Doctor and the Poker Genius podcast channels. If you feel rich, and I hope you do, and if you don't, I hope you will be soon, you can also purchase some great books, hypnotic audio books, and coaching programs there. I confidently recommend Zen and the Art of Being Smart, the online course, because this will ignite your superpowers. This masterclass is presented as 6 audiobook files with written notes. Over the years, my elite clients have found these topics the most helpful. They're posting some massive results at the moment and in the past, so something is working for them. These superpower audiobooks contain hypnotic language to open the vault, which is guarding your unconscious mind's massive power. And just to let you know, the 6 monster superpower topics are some of which we've addressed already in this series. Number 1, confidence. Number 2, visualization. Number 3, synchronicity. Number 4, the collective unconscious. Number 5, intuition and psychic skills. And mysteriously, number 6, the living in the 1% of reality. Back to step 3, and the final step is to learn how Zen and NLP can enhance our persuasion and communication skills through storytelling. This is an imaginary conversation from history, taken about 50,000 years ago, after we learnt to talk. Edward was one of history's first leaders, and this is his story. Bob was good at building stuff. We did not like him because he had nasty habits, but we allowed it. Bob was also not very generous, and he turned down our first request for him to build us a lovely house like his, but a bit bigger. We were tempted to kill him, but fortunately we saw the big picture and we devised a cunning plan. If Bob built our house, we would treat his tropical leg ulcers. We felt it better not to share with him the truth that we didn't have a clue where to start with his ulcers. We just made some mud, we smeared it on his leg, and told him it would take some time for them to heal and that he just had to be patient. We also said the exercise would suit him, particularly climbing up and down ladders, building houses. And because we used our best hypnotic voice, Bob reluctantly agreed. And a few weeks later, the house was built. It was different from what we'd planned, but it was good enough. Finding a good builder has always been challenging. My growing family and I felt pretty smug as we sat on our veranda, drinking our fortified honey. Overall, our experiment with Bob worked quite nicely. Unfortunately, Bob was not the easiest person to work with, and he was a bit of a moan. He was still banging on about his ulcers. He didn't like my explanation that the recovery was slower than anticipated because he was a negative thinker and a wrong person. In my best hypnotic voice again, I reassured him that he just needed to focus on cleaning up his aura and being a better person, and his ulcers would indeed heal. Overall, we recognise that whilst you can't always please everybody, the experiment was so successful that it was worth trying on a few others. To cut a long story short, within 2 years, we'd made our tribe of precisely 150 people. They all had valuable skills to offer the tribe, so they were still alive. I was the president because I was the best qualified and the oldest in my family. My other family held all the lesser government jobs. Now, when something sounds too good to be true, I soon learnt to my cost that it usually is. When things with our tribe were progressing nicely, we had an outbreak of what would be later called trouble at the mill. A few youngsters had gathered and decided that they could do a better job than me. Can you believe it? Now, my tolerance is legendary, but I've found their behaviour unacceptable. I'll spare you all the gruesome details, but let's just say that sometimes one has to be firm but fair, not forgetting that one of the secrets of influence is to punish traitors without mercy, to scare the living daylights out of everybody else. Well, he was wrong there. That's not the way to influence people. Anyway, moving on to the story. Edward's story. However, I no longer rested so easily in my bed because I had an uncomfortable feeling that whilst I might have dealt with this small rebellion, it would probably not be the last one. I needed to come up with another cunning plan. Our ancestor Edward was lucky because one of the members of his tribe, Ian, knew that most people talk about the same things, usually the topics that cause them pain. So Ian's advice to Edward was to find where the pain is. And now that the tribes have learned to speak to each other, they talk nonsense. Almost all of it is untrue. It doesn't necessarily mean they're lying, they're just deluded and a little psychotic. This is what Ian said. Find out what they're worrying about, give them a solution and a compelling reason to follow you as their leader forever. Then they will be happy, even though they have to work more hours. More importantly, you will also be satisfied and a lot richer than before. As long as there are simple rules for everybody to adopt, and as long as there's a prize for compliance, people will usually do whatever you want them to do. The prize does not even have to exist. So everybody is happy, more or less. They know the rain will come and the crops will grow because you said you would take care of this with your magic. You're the happiest person because everyone else is doing all the work and you can relax and enjoy your well-earned, fortified honey. As a footnote, Bob the Builder is also a bit happier because he has others to help him and he's stopped moaning about his leg ulcers. Edward's family is pleased because they're now living in a palace, and this story will repeat it many times up to the present date and presumably beyond. Now, an observer might point out that the tribe works longer hours for less money than before, and it's not noticeably happier. Indeed, in our present-day society, people live longer than ever, they have more babies than ever, and have more personal possessions than ever. And yet, the incidence of stress-related and another mental health disease is also higher than ever before. As Ian explained to Edward, I guess it's always been like this. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Edward didn't allow these criticisms to weaken his cunning plan. Indeed, the plan worked much more successfully than he expected, as he boasted, I am now an emperor, ruling my empire. My family are helping me because they're the only people I can trust. Although I'm starting to have a few doubts about their loyalty, and I think it could soon be time for another cull. On the one hand, we don't have much to show for our millions of years of evolution. We do not appear to be any more intelligent than Edward and his tribe and have less practical skills. Yet on the other hand, despite our self-delusions, we've never had it so good. We now have the benefit of modern medicine, we live longer than ever before, and rarely starve for more than a day or two, unless, of course, we're on a trendy diet. And yet the rates of some mental illnesses, as I mentioned, are higher than ever before in history. Because the truth is that none of us knows how to do very much apart from talking and telling lies. Very few people could build their own house, gather food, or kill an animal to eat. In other words, they would be incapable of surviving. Although people enjoy the illusion of free thought, most of the thoughts they value so highly are only hallucinations. We need to remember how to trust our most important gift, our gut instinct, also known as intuition. But it's never too late. That's the primary purpose of our show, Zen and the Art of NLP. And bear in mind, the more you practice embedding stories in your narrative, the better your communication and influence skills will be. Now, we got a few questions here to ponder. Femi from Lagos would like to know, do our stories have to be true? Well, one problem here, Femi, is that what you think is true, I might not think is true, and vice versa. And all of the people that we're talking to, of course. But I think if there can be at least a grain of truth in our stories, that's going to be more authentic, and people will think it's more natural. So, but a little embellishment is what people do. Stand-up comedians know this. Mm-hmm. So. That's just my quick view. Andrew from Cork wants to know, will people think we are crazy if we tell them stories? I don't see why they should, because everybody else is telling stories and we go along with that. So we at least might have the fun of telling our own stories. Jay from Miami wants to know, is social media a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I was actually listening to a radio program about this before the show, and I think this could be a topic for another program because it's a big one. But just in short, The answer to that is yes and yes. Yes, it can be a good thing, and yes, it certainly can be a bad thing. It all depends on who's doing the posting, and whether you read it and how it makes you feel. If it makes you feel good, it probably will be good. If it makes you feel angry, frustrated, or the other bad emotions, then best left alone. Anyway, my favorite part of the show, because it's time for the Zen and the Art of NLP top tip of the week. Now, I told you this, you don't need to be scared of this, but it might be a bit new to you. Read a fairy tale or one of Aesop's fables and speak it out aloud, just to yourself, but to other people if you want. But use a story at least once daily with your friends, family, and colleagues, because this is the easy way to a lot more success, of course, with a lot less stress. So thanks for joining us today. We've got a great program lined up for you on the same day and at the same time and at the same place next week. Be there and invite all your friends and family and everybody else too, even though people you don't like, because they might get to like you. Let's all raise the vibration of our world to a higher frequency, because it certainly needs it. Finally, don't forget to check out my website, drstephensimpson.com. Sign up for my free weekly newsletter and discover plenty of other great stuff too. So thanks for joining us today. I hope to see you next week. Have a cracking week. Make lots of money and make lots of new friends and lots of fun. Goodbye for now.
You have been listening to the Zen and Art of NLP. A lot more success with a lot less stress. Tune in every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio as we dive into the depths of your unconscious mind and awaken your intuition, unlocking hidden talents and supercharging your personal and professional relationships. Continue embarking on a stress-free journey towards unparalleled success by subscribing to future episodes and stay updated on the latest content. Easily share these captivating shows with your loved ones and create meaningful connections. Book a personal session with Dr. Steve Simpson to delve deeper into the topics that resonate with you. You can visit his website at drstephensimpson.com.